Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at something that feels incredibly specific on the surface. A single blog post about some fish, but it sort of unlocks this huge conversation about learning, success, and I guess the intersection of computer code and biological chaos.
It's a fascinating little corner of the internet. The source is a post from keonmeng.org, and it's one of those personal blogs that feels like a digital garden that's been tended to for years.
Totally. So the post we're breaking down is called Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 197.
Part 197.
I have to stop you right there. Part 197.
That's the number that jumped out at me immediately.
That's a lot of notes on fish.
It is, and it tells you right away, this isn't some slick how-to guide from a content farm. This is a log. It's a long-term documentation of a hobby.
And speaking of specific details, the date. It's February 14th, 2026.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, which is just perfect.
It really is.
You've got this author, Ang, sitting there on Valentine's Day writing this technical log about whether or not his fish are going to, find love.
It's poetic in a very, very nerdy way.
So let's introduce the author here.
Yeah.
Ang describes himself in a way that I think just frames this whole thing. He calls himself an old software plumber.
A software plumber, that is such a specific phrase, not a rock star developer, not an architect.
No, a plumber. It
Yeah.
implies getting your hands dirty, right?
Right, fixing leaks, connecting pipes, dealing with the messy underbelly of a system. He says he tinkers with free and open source software, FlawFlyOS.
So you've got a guy who thinks in systems, in logic.
And then he turns around and applies that exact same systematic thinking to a glass box full of water and fish.
And that's the collision, the digital versus the biological.
So let's set the scene. He's got a tank. He's got these Dwarf Cichlids, Apistogramma. What's the situation he's documenting? He is in deep observation mode. He's tracking this one specific pair, a male and a female, and he started to notice some changes. He's looking for what we might call, status updates in the software world.
But they're biological markers here.
Exactly. And he's seeing two main things. First, the visuals. He notes that the colors on the fish are becoming increasingly vibrant.
Which is usually a good sign, right? Like they're putting on their best suit for a date.
That's a great way to put it. In nature, color is a signal. It says, I am healthy, I am strong, I am a good mate. But the second sign is even more critical.
What's that?
He points out that the female has a noticeably rounder belly.
Okay, so to me that just sounds like she had a big lunch. But in the fish world, that's a big deal.
It's huge. It suggests she's gravid, which means she's carrying eggs. The biological machinery is spinning up. The potential for a new generation is physically there.
So the signs are good. But this is where the title of the post, The Waiting Game, comes in. Why the tension?
Because potential isn't execution. He explicitly notes that for this specific pair, this is their first time. The rookies.
Ah, okay, the rookie mistake factor.
And it's a big one in fish breeding. First-time parents can be notoriously unreliable. They might get confused. They might not fertilize the eggs, or they might get stressed and just eat the eggs.
Oh, wow. Yikes.
It happens.
Ugh.
Nature is messy. So even with all the good signs, Ang writes that it remains to be seen.
I love that phrasing. There's a certain detachment to it. He isn't anxious or trying to force anything. He's just logging the state of the system.
That is the plumber mindset. You can build the pipes, you check the pressure, you turn the valve. But you can't force the water to flow if there's a blockage you can't see.
Right, but, and this is the key part of his methodology, he is absolutely controlling the variables that he can. He doesn't just sit back and hope. He starts what he calls conditioning.
Conditioning is the perfect term, isn't it? It bridges his two worlds. In software, you condition an environment before a test. In the aquarium, he's doing the same thing. He's optimizing the inputs to encourage a very specific output.
A successful spawn.
Exactly.
Let's break down those inputs, because he gets really specific about their diet.
He does. It's like an algorithm for encouragement. First variable he tweaked was frequency. He went from feeding them once a day to twice a day.
Okay, so just upping the energy input. Basic thermodynamics.
Right. Biologically, making eggs is expensive. It takes a ton of calories. If an animal is just getting by, it won't breed. So Ang doubles the caloric opportunities.
But he didn't just throw more of the same food at them. He changed the composition of the food?
The input data, yeah. He switched to fish pellets with a higher protein ratio. That's crucial. Protein is the building block. He's basically upgrading their fuel source.
And then there's the third input, the one that really stood out to me, the special treat.
The frozen bloodworms.
Frozen bloodworms. He adds them from time to time.
To a dwarf cichlid, that is a 5-star meal. It's dense, it's fatty, but it's more than just food. In the wild, an abundance of something like bloodworms often signals the start of the rainy season.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the rainy season is the best time to have babies. More hiding spots, more food for the little ones. So by adding bloodworms, Aang is essentially hacking their instincts. He's simulating the rainy season in a glass box.
He's sending them environmental cues through the menu. That's fascinating.
It's an A/B test, basically. He's tweaked the variables, and now he's waiting for the biological system to respond.
He's debugging biology. But this is where it gets really profound for me. I mean, here's a guy who clearly wants these fish to breed. He's doing the work. He's buying the special food. But then he drops this paragraph about his mindset that I think is the core of this whole thing.
His definition of success.
Yes. He writes, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that we've already achieved our goal of successfully getting and keeping this species.
It's such a powerful shift in perspective.
He says a successful spawn is just a welcome bonus.
That is the learner mindset in a nutshell. I mean, think about it. We get so fixated on the output. Did the project ship? Did I get the promotion? Did the fish have babies? And if the answer is no, we feel like we failed.
Right. We feel like we wasted the bloodworms.
Exactly. But Aang flips that script.
Yeah.
He's saying, I am keeping them alive. They look great. I'm learning how to care for them. That is the success.
It takes all the pressure off.
It does. And he says it explicitly. Even if they do not breed, we've gained valuable insights into their care. He values the data he's gathering more than the final biological result.
It's the journey, not the destination, but for aquarium maintenance.
Right.
And looking at the source, this isn't a one-off thing for him. We mentioned this. Notes on Fishkeeping, part 197.
And that's just the fish.
Right. I was looking in the sidebar on his blog, and my jaw just hit the floor. He has notes on gardening that go up to part 807.
807.
He has notes on Haskell programming, notes on photography, notes on meditation.
It paints a picture of someone who is just deeply committed to the act of learning. He's chronicling everything. He's building a database of his own experience. So when you have that much data, one failed breeding attempt isn't a catastrophe.
No, it's just a data point.
It's just entry number 198. It minimizes the sting of failure and just turns his whole life into this longitudinal study.
I really like that, a longitudinal study of his own life. It also explains his view on the economics of the hobby, which I found surprisingly altruistic.
Yeah, that connects directly back to his whole open source background.
It really does, because usually when people breed something specific or rare, there's a profit motive, right? I have this rare thing, I can sell it for a lot of money.
Scarcity drives value. It's basic economics.
But Aang doesn't go there. He notes that Apistogramma have a slightly higher price tag, but he doesn't want to cash in.
No, quite the opposite. He writes that he hopes the local fish market becomes more saturated with these species.
Saturated. That is a very specific word.
It is. He wants to drive the prices down.
And why would he want to do that?
He says it's to allow more hobbyists to explore the world of Apistogramma. He wants to lower the barrier to entry for other people.
That is pure open source philosophy.
It is exactly that. It's the free libre ethos he mentions in his bio, but applied to biology. In the software world, you write a great piece of code, you don't lock it away, you publish it. You want everyone to use it and improve it.
So he's treating these fish genetics like a code repository.
Precisely. He doesn't want to hoard the beauty of these fish. He wants the source code, the fish themselves, to be available to everyone, even if that makes his own stock less valuable financially.
It's community over profit. He's not thinking, how do I make $50? He's thinking, how do I make sure the next person who wants to try this can afford to?
And that fits perfectly with the other organizations he supports. If you look in the sidebar, he's got the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Free Software Foundation, Wikipedia.
Yeah, I saw that. They're all about the free flow of information and access. It's amazing how consistent his worldview is. Whether he's talking about internet privacy or feeding bloodworms to a fish, the values are the same.
Openness, learning, sharing. It's a holistic approach.
Speaking of his other interests, looking at that list of coding languages again, Elixir, Erlang, Haskell, Rust, those are some heavy hitters.
Yeah, he's not just sticking to one easy language. Erlang, in particular, was built for telecommunications. It's designed to create systems that are fault-tolerant.
What does that mean exactly?
It means they can run forever without crashing, even if parts of the system fail. He likes systems that are resilient, that can handle chaos.
And what is an aquarium if not a chaotic system?
Exactly. You've got water chemistry, bacteria, fish behavior. Things go wrong. His approach to coding is exactly how he approaches the fish tank. He's building a stable, fault-tolerant environment where life can flourish even if errors occur.
That makes so much sense. He isn't trying to control every little thing. He's building a robust system.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the fish, doesn't it? The post is called The Waiting Game. We've talked about the diet, the philosophy, but ultimately he's just sitting there watching a tank.
And that is the hardest part for most of us, right? We live in a world of instant feedback. You post something, you get a like, you write a line of code, you run it, you get an error or a success.
Nature doesn't work on that clock.
Not at all.
Nature is asynchronous. You send a request, here are some bloodworms, and the server might not respond for weeks or, ever.
That has to be frustrating for a software plumber who's used to being able to fix the pipes.
Or maybe it's liberating. Maybe that's exactly why he needs the fish. The waiting game is a practice in surrendering control. You optimize the inputs, you condition the environment, but you cannot force the spawn. You have to surrender to the timeline of the fish.
That's a deep thought. It's almost like the fish tank is his notes on meditation, but in physical form.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's all connected for him.
So if we look at the core lesson here, what's the takeaway for you?
I think it's the conditioning concept. You can't force an outcome, but you can and should optimize the conditions for success.
So if you want to learn a difficult language, like Haskell, for example.
Yeah, exactly. You can't force your brain to just absorb it overnight, but you can condition yourself. You set aside 20 minutes a day. You subscribe to the newsletters. You feed your brain the high-protein content it needs. You audit your input.
Still gets on the conditioning, not the spawn.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's also a reminder that when you're expecting high performance from yourself or a system, you have to fuel it properly.
You can't expect growth on a maintenance diet.
That's a great point. He anticipated the need. He didn't wait for them to breed and then feed them more. It was proactive support.
Right. And, circling back to the failure aspect, he knows this first spawn might go wrong. He says it remains to be seen. There's no anxiety in that.
It's the voice of experience, not just in fish keeping, but in experimentation. If you're terrified of the experiment failing, you'll never run it. But if you see the experiment itself as the value, you become fearless.
It's the difference between I failed and this attempt didn't work.
And in his case, it's more like, this attempt didn't work, but look at those beautiful colors on the male. He's still finding joy in the present moment.
He's still a fan of his own hobby, even after 197 posts about fish and 800 about gardening.
You don't get to those numbers without a genuine passion. You just burn out.
You absolutely would.
So, we have a software plumber on Valentine's Day, feeding bloodworms to his cichlids, hoping for love, but perfectly content with just life.
That's a beautiful summary. He's showing us that during the messy, uncertain waiting part is actually where life happens. The spawn is just a moment. The keeping is the journey.
The keeping is the journey. I think that applies to a lot more than just Apistogramma. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to carry with you. We talked a lot about Aang's waiting game.
It really is the central theme.
So here's the question for you. What is the breeding project in your own life right now? What's that thing you're working on, pouring resources into, adjusting the variables for, but you haven't seen the result yet?
The thing where the outcome remains to be seen.
Exactly. Could be a career move, a relationship, learning a new skill. And ask yourself, can you adopt Aang's mindset? Can you get to a place where you say, even if this doesn't work out the way I hope, the fact that I'm doing it, learning from it, and keeping it alive is the success?
Can you be happy just keeping the fish swimming? That's the real challenge. Stop waiting for the spawn and start appreciating the colors.
It sure is. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.